Hello, 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 amigas, and welcome to Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast. Okay, so I am just excited because this beautiful soul, wow, she came with this beautiful other soul, meaning my girlfriend, Dr. Veronica Estrada, said, you have to interview her. And I said, pues claro que sí, ¿cómo no? And I'm like, oh my God, I love her to death. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. She's so beautiful and just such a lovely soul. And her name is Xitlalt Herrera. And she's a brand strategist and she has a beautiful company. And I know that she's going to talk all about branding and what she does with X Level Inc., which is her company. And I'm excited to have her here because I love bringing women, spectacular women that can share their gifts, their talents, el talento, la pasión. And amigas, she's also divinely led and she's so spiritual and I love that. Love. And she's gorgeous. Okay. Wow. I'm like to have todo el paquete.
Ay,
I
gracias.
love it. I love it. So welcome to Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast, my friend.
Well, thank you, Jackie. I will tell you this. I'm so excited to be here with you. What an honor and a privilege to be with a fellow divine spirit who handles her shit. And we're going to be talking about how we do it with the way that we do it, but with grace and ease.
Yes, my words,
Yeah.
my words. Oh my God, you touch my soul all the time. So,
Thank
amiga,
you.
okay, so I want my beautiful amigas out there that are listening to this podcast to know about you, de donde eres, because your name is so different. It's not very typical. So I'm sure it has a background and a history. So I want to know all that. Can you tell us a little bit?
Definitely. Well, orgullosamente, mis padres son de Mexico. So we're from Chihuahua, Mexico. My name is Nahuatl. So it's Azteca. It means the northern or the goddess of the northern star or the star of Bethlehem, the guiding light, I want to say. So that is the significance of Citlali. And I am a girl that was born in West Texas with wonderful parents, an amazing father who's a great welder and known for his impossible welds, and my amazing mother who studied art, design and architecture, a house that was always changing in its style, but in that accepted that their daughter loved arts. Yeah, even though I was born in West Texas and wore a uniform and went to Catholic private school and all that wonderful things that we all did over there, I will tell you this, that one thing that always held or that held me together was I didn't fit in, and it was okay at times because it was West Texas. So it taught me how to speak to people, which I'm really grateful for because you appreciate everyone. But with a name like mine, thank God I had it because my personality was always, as right now I'm wearing my green jacket and my jewelry and all these things, is my artistic expression was always there since I was a child. I literally begged for a black and gold bedroom suit at the age of 7, and not from goth, but because I was in love with Coco Chanel and all those things. I dreamt of going to Marrakesh when other kids dreamt of going to Disney World. So it literally was sunglasses and a hat since I was 6 months old. It's
Ah,
just in my blood. It's who I am, but it doesn't define who I am. It's
yeah.
just a part of how I express who I am.
Oh my God, I love that. You make me think of when I was a little girl, I really wanted to be a fashion designer. Like that was like I really wanted to be that. And I
Right.
would like wake up early in the morning to watch this show. I can't even remember the name. Back in the 80s, like I was born in 74, so I'm very old.
No, you're not. You're not that old. We get better with just like wine.
That's right, that's right. So I remember waking up and, like, watching the models, and I'm, like, thinking, "One day I'm gonna be, creating their dresses and whatnot," but, bueno, unfortunately, that was not really fostered because, I self-sabotage myself
Yeah.
because I didn't know how to draw.
Mhm.
I thought, "Wow, you can't be a fashion designer if you don't know how to draw." So here I am as a 6-year-old, thinking these thoughts. But what I did know is that I was very smart.
Mm.
And so I'm like, well, then my logic kind of beat my creative side. And but I love that you explored that part of you. I mean, because you created a business.
Right now, but I have to tell you, I had a fight just like you did, a lot of self-sabotaging behavior. People mean well, the tias and tios, who I was very fortunate that even though my father's family immigrated to the United States, my grandfather was from Marfa, Mexicano, but from Marfa. And my uncle, only being in this country for 2 years, was valedictorian of his high school. My aunt was salutatorian. Like, they graduated from Texas A&M University. I have cousins from Dartmouth, from MIT, all these intellectuals. So I really didn't fit in that. So I thought, to be smart, I had to do business or possibly an attorney, because I was really good at Lincoln Douglas debate. So I was on that track.
Oh, okay.
And I actually went to a law firm at the age of 17 when I went to UNT. And I sat in George Zimmerman's office, and there was another attorney there, Stephen King, and he had not lost a case, and I had studied it. So I sat in their office. I said, I know how to make coffee. I just want to learn from you. They go, what do you mean? I go, you haven't lost a case, and I want to know why. And so I sat there. I said, I speak Spanish. I'll help you do all these things. So long story short, I thought that was going to be my trajectory, because I was always involved in politics. I worked my first congressional race when I was 17 years old as a volunteer, and did those things. And what I love that side of me as well. But in that, what I recognized when I was the attorneys, all respect to those that do that on a daily basis, I was not the best criminal defense attorney, because if I thought you were guilty, I was like, no, we can't defend it. So needless to say, I was not chosen to be an attorney, and I still couldn't find my path. And I had a great experience, and I became a Miss Latina. That's a different story. But in that, a woman came to recruit me, Denise Nuno, after I went to go speak at the Mott conference. And I was speaking about international business. And I was 18 years old doing this speech. And she goes, when you're ready to be when you're ready to run for Congress, I'm ready to be your campaign manager. And I was like, can we have coffee first? And so we started. I looked at the business plan. They had some things, and there was an opportunity. And I thought of a way to actually, for her to get audited circulation, to negotiate with national organizations, LULAC, NCLR, and all these in DC, and then them send their publications. And we were working on this. And she goes, do you want to go to DC? I was like, why not? So most people didn't know. So I was only 19, and I was negotiating when I was over there. But my grandmother taught me to drink club soda with lime. So I looked like I was having alcohol, but I wasn't. So I literally was doing that, coming back and forth to school, doing all those things, and thought that was my trajectory. I produced my first show when I was 20 years old. And it was Totalmente Latina. And a dear friend of mine, Dr. Yasmin Davids, I just finished her program at
Yes.
USC, where that's how I met Dr. Veronica, which I highly recommend that program as well. And needless to say, I was producing that show, doing Hispanic Journal as well. And 9/11 happened.
Mm.
And like many of us, we said, okay, what's going on with our lives? I bought my first condo at the age of 21, got my first mortgage. And it was such a proof point. And what I recognize now at this stage of my life is, when you're on the right path, the right things are going to find you at the right time, but you have to feel that soul. And something in my soul was saying, you need to change something. And now at this age, I recognize that it was more of guilt at that time that I felt, guilt and shame. That I think what it was is, so many people had so many despairing situations happening. And
Yeah.
here I was, and I was like, hold on a sec, I need to reassess. And I did. And I did the best decision I knew how for my soul's calling, as I went to go be a development director for Mi Escuelita preschools. And I followed my calling. I remember my dad telling me, goes, you mean in the worst economy, you're going to go raise money for children? And I told him, I said, you know what, Dad, I always want to do the Peace Corps. I can afford myself for 2 years. I did the math.
Yeah.
So somehow I'll figure it out. I don't know what they're going to pay me, but I'm going to do it, because I have to do this job.
Yeah.
And that's how it started. And then 2 years to the day, Neiman Marcus came and recruited me. And it was a $5,000 check that they were giving. And I did a press conference, and Ken Downey, who was the vice president of PR, came and we did the whole thing. And next thing I know, he's inviting me to the Zodiac and offering me the age of 24 to be the media manager and corporate public relations for Neiman Marcus, which is handling all the national media relations for the company. And would I be interested?
Oh my God.
And literally, so I'm telling you, I
Oh my
was
God.
always in
I
me.
was in school. Wait, let me see. Was I in school? Yes, I was in school.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
It's okay. But I will tell you this, when you're doing good things will find you, but you have to feel what's going on inside.
Mm.
And look, I'm divorced, so my life hasn't been perfect. I'm the first to admit to why, and I'm sure we'll get into that in a little bit. But with that being stated, it was more about me saying yes to what I was feeling. But thank God I had a mentor that guided me through like the ask, what do you negotiate? I negotiated like vacation days because I had told them no. And it literally was Carson from Query from the Straight Guy that we went to a
Really?
party and he goes, so why aren't you saying yes to this job? It looks like you really like it. I remember with my friend after a martini, it slipped out. And I said, because smart people don't do fashion. And I couldn't believe I just said it, but that was my underlying subconscious belief that I
Yes.
didn't recognize. I was like you with your art. I was blocking myself because in my father's successful family, you're not supposed to do that. If you do, you don't look the part. Who are you? ¿Qué te crees? ¿Cómo
Yeah.
te crees? You know, my poor mother, who was so stylish and amazing, was always like, oh, she just thinks she's all that because she's dressing up versus that's who she is. Honor who she
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think people mean to. It's all that they know.
Yeah.
And I think in survival mode, sometimes we only think of it financially. It's also in feelings
Yeah.
and it's in allowing yourself. But I'm grateful for all of it and being at peace in it. And I'm so glad I said what I did because I could finally recognize that not so nice voice from inside. And then the next day said, yes, I will take the meeting and I will go through a formal interview process and do the whole thing, and never looked back. And I'm so grateful for that opportunity because that I was with them for 15 years and worked with amazing designers from Tom Ford to Carolina Herrera to Mr. David Yurman to all of them and have learned from the best in that. And it's truly been an honor and a privilege doing that. But I will be honest with you, la Virgencita siempre me ha cuidado muy bien.
Mm.
And and literally before every fashion show, I literally call my grandmother and be like, abuelita, necesito un rosario. Me decía, mijita, ya te lo rezo. I go, no, but abuelita, I need to generate $150,000 in 2 hours. Please, réceme otro, por favor. Y prende todas las velas.
Todas las
And
velas.
todas las velas. And it's that amazing essence that keeps you grounded that my father, and I love my West Texas background because it taught me that everybody puts on their pants with two legs, which means you treat everybody. And when I received my first fashion award, the first person I thanked on stage was literally all of our housekeeping team at Neiman Marcus. I said, I'm a conductor. I said, but it takes everyone to create an experience. I go, and if everyone rises to the occasion, we all rise there. And in that, my mother would always say, always leave something better than you found it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't about how I'm being treated. It's who am I in that process.
Right.
And I'm not perfect, believe me, but I learned how to forgive at a very young age.
Yeah.
And in that, you try your best not to harbor ill will.
Mm-hmm.
So that way you can ensure just to let go. So another door can open that's even better in the future. And in essence, and then brought me to X Level Inc., where I am now.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Wow.
Sorry, long explanation there.
No, but I love it. I love this. You know, I I feel like you've had these angels tapping your shoulder, come in and give you like a dose of inspiration or like, you know what? Why don't you pay attention to this? Like Carson Daly, like why not? Just even
Right.
like that little simple conversation, why not? And you vocalizing the
Yes.
true reason.
Yes.
When you said that, what did he say?
I think everyone just gasped and cringed all at the same time. And thank God, one of my very dear friends, John Nieto, was my gay date, my gay husband for every event that I would go to, my art events in Dallas. He was with me and he holds my hand and he's like, oh my gosh, he goes, that's what's been holding you back. And don't forget that angels aren't always those that whisper. Angels are sometimes people that are next to you, but you have to make sure you're listening with your heart, not your ego. In
Yes.
those moments, because I
Yes.
could have easily tried to swallow, or my ego could have easily been puffed up. Oh no, I didn't mean to, blah, blah, blah. No, I
Right.
had to admit to what I said
Yeah.
and recognize that it was my aha moment and be humble enough to be like, oh my gosh, here I'm fine. Here's a gift from God telling me I'm about to do what I've always dreamt of doing. And I'm self-sabotaging because of what family thinks. Hold on a
Right.
sec. Like, this is
Right.
not right.
No, it's not
There's
right.
something wrong here. Exactly.
Right. Like that just brings me back to my little 6-year-old brain saying that you don't know how to draw. So how the heck can you become a fashion designer?
Well, I will tell you this. There's a lot of designers that have artists that work for them. They're the ideas. That's kind of like what we do with Excel Inc. What I do as a creative director is I come in and I look at the enhancement. That's what was known at Neiman Marcus was how do you create the enhancements in the new markets
Uh-huh.
and what are we doing? And in that, everybody would be like, okay, how'd you come up with this? I go, I pray and I listen. It was my
Awesome.
dad's business plan. It's always been.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's when you learn to get yourself out of your own way. And I didn't. That's actually why I got married, unfortunately. And I can
Mm.
admit to that as well. Which was right before Neiman Marcus. It was in the middle of mi escuelita. And here I'd been working at a nonprofit. And I'm like, okay, I have my house, have all these things. And everybody, of course, the question is like, when are you getting married? When are you going to have a real boyfriend? Not one in New York, not one in LA that
Yeah.
you see like once every 6 months. Like what's really going to happen here? And I allowed that to be heard. I hate to say it, but it's true. And then it's what does a resume look like? And I hate to say it that I did make a list at that time of 52 things I wanted in a person.
Oh my
And
God.
they had it. I know. I believe me, you pray for it, you're going to get it. So be careful what you ask for.
Right.
But I got all those things, but I left off certain things that now I recognize are so important to me.
Yeah.
Spirituality, kindness, generosity, a lot of things that weren't there. And that's why I could end up in it because I was, even though I've been an executive, even though you see me as a success and all these other things, I was in a very mentally unhealthy situation for a very long time.
Wow.
And I didn't listen to my voice then because I wanted to prove again, I can make this number. I can grow the store to be 52 million. I can do all these other things because I was still proving.
Yeah.
And so know that even when you have that, there's things that can happen that can take you off base. But that's why if I was to say one thing that's so important is that time in the morning and time in the evening, that's just you by yourself. And I am so glad we lived like roommates for the last 5 years of my marriage because I got to experience being single and work on that all on my own before the divorce happened, before all that other stuff.
Right.
And not that it was perfect, but I survived a situation probably in a different way because I refound me in
Yeah.
that process. And even if you refind, as the Bible says, a mustard seed of faith, a mustard seed of who you were, you'll refine that person. And then you're going to start going down that path of joy.
Yeah.
And that path of joy then leads to a path of happiness. And then you get to divine alignment. And then in after that alignment, do you sometimes still experience your anger? And that's where forgiveness comes back in. And it doesn't mean life is perfect. It means, do you have the tools to get through another day to make the next one better? And know you're not alone in the process.
Wow. That's so profound. I'm like, you're speaking my language, girl.
Good. And drinking the tea.
And drinking the tea. Wow. No, it's so true. And because relationships are relationships, whether they're romantic, they're business, they're casual, they're, relationships, they all require work and they require an open heart, I believe.
Yes.
And if you don't go through life in your relationships without having this open heart, this engagement, this communication, a lot of things will falter. A lot of things will
Absolutely.
falter. And if you don't have your open heart and the communication is not in alignment with you, then forget it. Game
Right.
over. Everything's done.
No, well, completely. And that's exactly as I had to ask myself the hard question, because when I was first opening my company, a business opportunity came and I was like, oh, yes, I can show that they're great. And that's why you should go for my company versus building my company. Rookie mistake. I understand now. That's okay. But I'm so grateful that what happened there and that it didn't go the way that it could have. And I remember an attorney asking me, they go like, do you realize you could be walking away from $1 million? I go, it's not in alignment. If it's not in alignment, it's not going to work for me. I'm done. I just want out. I don't need any money. I just want to be like out of the situation and be done with this. And then I remember a friend of mine's husband telling me, because I was in such a dark place from that, going like, oh my gosh, what happened? And the person I thought was supposed to support me through it judged me worse than I was even judging myself. So I was like, wow. And so I remember being literally on a horse and I was in Malibu and they told me, they go, really think about why you did it, because we're really smart in business. So I don't understand. And I literally was on that horse just trotting away and my friend was up in front. And I literally heard the voice say, how do they treat you at home? And I was like, oh, me llegó el 20 que te
Yeah.
dices, I had not wanted to face that.
Yeah.
Because for so long, I thought your spouse represented who you were versus I represent who I am. I'm not responsible for them.
Right.
So I allowed that self-prejudice again to come in. And in that, I then came back and said, I'm done. I can't do this. I'm no longer going to be in this situation and I'm going to get out of it. I don't know how, but I'm just going to get out of it. And I'm glad I did. And actually, I'm really glad he acted the way that he did because it made it easy for me to step away.
Yeah.
Because and when I walked away, I just said, okay, you can keep almost everything. I just want to be able to keep my company, to be able to purchase this house. I remember the attorney and the judge going like, are you crazy? And I just said, well, they're not going to go through this. And I'm going to have to get into a legal argument for 2 years just to get what, $500,000, $250,000. I go, I'd rather do that on my own.
Yeah.
I said, I'm sorry. I said, with all due respect, I'm out of mediation. We were done in 6 hours.
Yeah.
And it was literally my life since has been by the grace of God and building the company, because surviving a divorce, first year of company in COVID, by the way, second year surviving, trying to get the mortgage situation all worked out and everything like that. Because if not, I would have to sell the house and give him more money. And I was like, no. I was like, ya di demasiado. I was like, no more. I was like, thank you. Thank you. That's okay.
Cruces, no.
Dije, mi Rosario me está diciendo que ya fui demasiado amable. And it literally was 2 weeks right before that my front door neighbor and literally a banker, like it was a miracle as to it being. And when I went to go meet with her, she goes, do you want to close on September 24th? I'm like, oh, really? I was like, this is real. This has really happened. It literally just cements all of you. But again, I go back to Paulo Coelho also says that when you're on the right path, the universe conspires to help you. And it doesn't mean if there's a hiccup, it means you're on the wrong path. Sometimes that hiccup is making you stronger for something else you're going to need to be ready for this next level, which is why my company is X Level Inc. The logo is black with white in the middle, because my favorite quote is from St. Francis of Assisi, that all the darkness in the world cannot extinguish the light of one candle, which is hope.
Yeah.
And that's why it's all dark with light in the middle, because I'm not afraid of it.
Yeah.
I've seen it, and it's nothing to be afraid of. It's to be seen, because when you deal with your own dark night of the soul,
Yes.
you then know that that's what breaks you through to your light. And the purpose of the company really is because I want to bring back the Mr. Rogers mentality in fashion, entertainment, and creativity, and reminding us all what is our essence, where we don't all have to be clones of each other to like each other. My father taught me a long time ago, just because someone looks like me doesn't mean that they're with me, because they don't mean that they're against me.
Right.
And I love, and I think such a wise saying to teach his daughter,
Yeah.
to say, está bien, mija,
Yeah.
deja ir. Y mi abuelita siempre decía, deja ir para fluir. And I think that when
Mm.
you learn that, to forgive, to let go,
Yeah.
that's why, and I could work on myself. I take responsibility for allowing that relationship to stay, and that I did. And the last rosary I prayed on the day of my divorce wasn't for me, it was for him. Because I
Mm.
want him to find love.
Yes.
I want him to find that every human being deserves that. We just weren't the right fit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in that, other things heal. Because if not, siempre va a haber una espinita.
Yeah.
And I don't need more espinitas. I'd rather it just be as much of a smooth sailing as possible. So why create that myself if I don't have to?
Yes, absolutely. Ya no hay espinitas. Todo
Sí, ya
está
no.
fluyendo, todo está fluyendo.
Sí.
So I love what you were saying about Mr. Rogers' mentality, and
Yeah.
that is, part of your mission with your company. And as you mentioned your company, tell us a little bit more about, I know that there's like three divisions,
Yes.
three
Yes.
branches, right? So
So,
walk us through your company.
so, I've had many different team members come and join throughout the process. And one of them, I remember one time told me, they go, you're known for elevation. When I was thinking of like the company, I was like X and Co, because I was always thinking like X, because I wanted this to grow beyond me. It's
Mhm.
not just about me. It's about a legacy to pay something forward. And so the purpose of X Level Inc. were three branches. One is X Agency, because my focus is when I was with Neiman Marcus, I was always trying to book diverse faces and Ken and all them. And that's one thing I love about Neiman Marcus. They really love diversity and bringing that in. And I would call agencies. They're like, "Oh, we don't have that." Oh, what do you mean you don't have? So then I would find models. I would call the agency. Will you please? This is a perfect model for you. And one of them, long story short, was booked and all these other things. And she actually got inside the New Marcus Christmas book. And then I remember reading an article where she got lost at Fashion Week in New York and literally had a mental breakdown. And you hear these stories all the time, and it's not necessarily just an industry thing. I think it's a people thing. That's why I've always respected the Spurs model here, is that when you're an NBA player here with the Spurs, they teach you how to manage your businesses, how to get your finances in order, how to do all those other things to do that. And I just thought, why not do that within the entertainment field, so that way when these people can, to grow that. So that's my ultimate vision of that, and to create a spot where if you're an advertising agency or if you are a movie producer or something like that, that you can call and you can say, do you have diverse faces? And my answer is yes.
Mm.
And to do that, because I was always known to kind of connect the dots, if you will, for
Yeah.
projects. So that's what I was really well known for. And in that, then comes X Creative, and X Creative is where I've been known for my creative consulting. So everything from my philanthropic involvement for over 20 years, for being in the entertainment industry, for bringing all those, is what I do with brand strategy. Is it's not just your typical here is your new advertising campaign. It's what is the essence of the story, and is it all coming together? And I'm really not competition to advertising agencies. I'm the enhancement tool. I'm the one that comes in and connects the dots, and then they can take that rest of project over. So think of me like, if you haven't, for those that have champagne taste, but maybe had a beer budget, well,
Beer
then I'm
budget?
the exactly. So then I'm the one that comes in to enhance that. So you don't keep me on retainer forever.
Yeah.
You keep me for a process to come in, fix, elevate, and then go. And that way you can continue on your way. And it's bringing all of that 20 years in luxury retail, entertainment, and elevation, bringing all that I've learned from all those designers and working with such a prestigious company like Neiman Marcus, all together under one. And then the third side of the business is X Network. And under X Network is where I have not people that we manage, because in Texas you kind of manage and are an agent in one, if you will, it's talent that are friends of mine. Because when I produced my show with Dr. Yasmin was on that one, and Maria Antonieta Collins and Jamie Lynn Sigler, and all of them were on the show 20 years ago, Totalmente Latina, and it was in 6 different national markets, is I was noticing how we have a lot of diverse faces that are great experts, but they were all coming under the same umbrella. So if you will, is my goal, my vision for that is to build a diverse speakers bureau that's made up of experts that we become your one call for your conferences that aren't diverse, but you want to bring in that diverse quotient into it. So if it's Forbes or if it's Inc. or if it's a yoga studio that is looking at breath work, that we have experts that happen to be very dear friends of mine that are on a Rolodex and can elevate your events in that way. And why? Because I think there are three concentric circles that have never been thought of to be together. And that's what visionaries are. And I know a lot of people are like, it's too big of a vision. I go, well, I'm not being done yet. I'm looking for it to be done forever because I founded this because the most important part to me is the fourth part, which is X Foundation. 10% of everything I make from a net proceed goes to women's and children's organizations that focus on art, education, and mental health. Why? Because I've been in those situations and I know that all those led to my growth. And why is X level important to me? Because everyone is a role model that they don't always know to someone else. And I want a child whose parents might have to work 2 jobs or different things like that to know that someone that does look like them made it and they can too. So it's semillas of hope is really at the end of the day why we exist and why I take up oxygen every day.
I'm like, I have a girl crush.
Oh, good. And vice versa.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Wow. God. Just, I mean, just the things that you're saying and now with the semillas of hope. And I'm like, I heard that if the vision is not big enough, then you're not thinking big enough,
Right.
right? And
Exactly.
and I feel that what you're doing with the semillas of hope, your foundation, that 10% of the proceeds go to these individuals. I'm just like, wow, sí se puede. Realmente, sí se puede. And
Completely.
and not and it's like our Lord always wants us to think huge, huge, because his plan is bigger than we could even imagine.
Exactly.
Oh my,
Completely. That's why when my mother, she taught me, one of my favorite moments was going to Barcelona and finally seeing Gaudí and La Sagrada Familia, because my mother taught me about Gaudí since I was a little girl. And
wow.
to see his buildings that looked like what I looked at Dr. Seuss books. But one of my favorite quotes from him was when they were asking him, they go, you're going to die a poor pauper and that you'll never even see this church built. He goes, I'm not building it for me. I'm building it for God, and his time is infinite.
Oh,
And that does something to your soul. And
yeah.
I am so grateful that my parents, we were the kids, and I'm very grateful that even being from West Texas, we had our Mexican encyclopedia, not just the English one too.
Oh,
And when we would get in trouble, we'd have to go and write something. My mother wanted us to study history, so we would have to go and study. So I learned about Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz. I learned about Frida Kahlo. I learned about all these people at a young age,
yeah.
and I saw what it meant for me. And that's why I've always said that there's 2 ways to kill a person. One way is physical mortality, death. The second one is to strip them completely of their cultural identity. It doesn't mean that you can't love all of you, because guess what? Cada Mexicano somos una mezcla europea e indígena. I
Yeah.
proudly have my indigenous name, but I also proudly have the other roots there too. You
Right.
can't hate half of you.
No.
You have to love all of you. You have to realize everyone is human.
Yeah.
And I think for me, we were talking earlier about La Virgencita. That's what she was coming, in my opinion, to Mexico to do. Again, I'm not a theologian, so I apologize for all those that are out there. This is my personal philosophy
Yeah.
of where I've come with my studying in it to be.
Right.
Is when you look at La Virgencita and you look at her hands, y tiene los nudos que quiere desatar. And I love el santuario en Cancún de La Virgencita desatadora de nudos. I feel as if when she was coming to Juan Diego, she was coming to say yes or worthy. Remember, she had to tell him he was worthy to
Yeah.
go and go show everything, porque el obispo no le iba a creer.
No
And
le iba
el
a
obispo
creer nada.
no le iba a creer nada, because una cosa era indígena and just in his own personal fate of him not thinking he was worthy of it, right?
Right.
Then when he comes, I felt almost like La Virgencita was saying to both, "Pasíguense. You need to remember what true philosophy of how you treat human beings should be
Yeah.
on either side,
Right.
and to remind us of our humanity." And I think for me, she is a blanket of love
Mm,
and a celestial veil that will always find a way,
yeah.
but it's through love.
Right.
And it's the hardest thing is trusting in the scariest moments, but that's when your faith is tested.
Yes.
And it's not tested by God, in my opinion. I believe it's just tested because it is what it is, but in it, it's knowing that you're not alone
Mhm.
that brings you to that next level and that next step. And sometimes you have to just step out in faith
Yeah.
and just say, okay, I don't know why I'm 19. I'm going to be in DC. I don't know why I'm going to go run this company with Neiman Marcus and help with national media and figure it out as I go. I don't know why. And I'm going to open Excel link. I don't know why, but I'm going to get a divorce. But in it, boy, is it an exciting ride and
Yeah.
something I recommend that you are worthy of living your best day, not
Mm.
suffering through your worst.
Oh, you're worthy of living your best day. Oh my God. Girl, you're like dropping nuggets like nobody's business.
Ay, gracias, amiga, gracias.
Oh my
It's
God.
really and I don't take full credit. I think all of us that surrender and know that it comes from someone higher than us.
Oh,
We just get to
absolutely.
listen and work the words in.
Absolutely. I just was reminded of a quote that, I mean, I don't listen to him all the time, but it's Joel Osteen, and
Oh
he said,
yeah,
you know, don't put a period where there's supposed to be a comma,
exactly, completely,
right?
completely.
And you didn't put a period
No,
where there was a
there's still
comma.
not one.
There's still not one, right?
No, there's still not one. There's
Yeah.
still so much room for growth, so
Hmm.
much room for excitement. I
Yeah.
actually even have a boyfriend now, so yes. Y yo le dije a Dios, usted me lo manda.
Yeah. Y
A
yo lo
ver qué
quiero
soy.
así, y así,
Yes,
así, y así.
yes. And I added my list to it. And he's an amazing, amazing guy. And we've actually designed some jewelry pieces together. Actually, I'm wearing two of the rings. And this is a ring that he designed. This is my grandma, my father's mother, and this is my mom's mother's ring right here.
Oh,
And so they're my trifecta of love as far as
wow.
my right hand. I always like to say, I always like to layer and put my pieces to tell a
Yeah.
story. And when you come to my home one day, everything has a vignette. And I've been collecting art since I was 21 because for me, art is a part of life and it's oxygen for the eyes. And
Mm.
I think too many times we forget to look for oxygen for our eyes. We just think it's just in a breath
Yeah.
or it's in what we feel. That's in also what we see. And that's why my mother never liked clutter. We weren't allowed to have clutter. And I'm glad she trained us that way
Mhm.
because it it helped you see what you could give away, not just what you could keep. And
Wow.
and that to me was always important because this chiquita, there was a cardboard box. ¿Qué vas a donar?
Yeah.
You want something new? What else are you going to give away?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just think it's a beautiful way to live. I'm not perfect, but I love to live that way.
I love that. I mean, oxygen for the eyes. I'm like, oh my God,
I think
girl.
we're gonna come out with a bunch of mugs. I drink a
Ay,
lot of
Dios
tea, so
mío.
let's do some mugs and some journals. you know, between us two, we have a lot of things to
Oh my
think about.
God,
But
we
yeah,
can keep on going. I know,
thank you.
you've got so much going on, and I love this conversation. And what I always do with all my interviews, I always ask my amigas that come on if they could provide me with a one or two tips on how an amiga can handle her shit. And
Yeah.
I'm like, but you've been telling us how.
But you know what? I know I have to close it for you, so no te preocupes. I won't take that away from you. But before I go there, I will tell you this. If my company can ever be of service to anyone that's out there,
Mhm.
please contact us and let's see what great things we can do together in that way. On the flip side of that, two things I would say that you always want to hold on to. One, it's taking that moment where you close your eyes and you truly take 3 breaths of gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally have a reminder 3 times a day to do that on my, it goes off on my phone. And it's a calendar reminder to remind me, because I don't know what's happening, but it's just that little centering period throughout the day that I think it's just reminds you it's all going to be okay. And then it's something about when you stop and you take a breath that your natural empathy and compassion starts coming out in a different way. So I would just say that. And then the second part that I would say about how to handle things is by you being the best version of you, holding on and igniting your own light, you would then become a flood of light with the rest of us. And the most important part is if you live your brightest version of you, you're joining us and adding more light, because just like a butterfly, they say, can flap its wing and create a hurricane on the opposite side of the world. What if we all ignited our light and were kind in our hearts so we could do that with others around us? That is how we all handle all of our shit together, because guess what? Then it's no longer shit, it becomes light. And in that light, it's transformed for a purpose.
Yeah.
Because everything that's been given to us is for a purpose and a gift.
Yes.
And sometimes when we get out of that and we learn that self-love is you give it to yourself, but then you remember you're part of a community. And in that community, we then know how to share that love with others. It's not just to keep it, it's to give it away.
Give it away.
And in that, you then become a vessel of greatness.
Oh my God. You're killing me, Larry. Oh my goodness. I love this. Wow. You're just such an amazing woman. And I'm so grateful that you are here with me on this mic and just sharing your wisdom and your journey and just how profound your life is, not only for you but for the rest of the world, because what you have created is just going to magnify, I mean, tenfold. I mean, God, you are just living in your purpose, and I only wish you more and more and more, amiga.
Ay, gracias. Pues te lo aprecio. And thank you. Well, keep us in your prayers and in your light, because I do know that those travel. And I just want to say thank you for what you're doing and for all the stories that you're sharing. And I am so excited to see you and your growth. And I am grateful and blessed to be here with you today. So thank you.
Oh my God. Oh my God. The pleasure's all mine. Oh my goodness, amiga. You're such a just a beautiful soul, and I'm so grateful. I'm gonna hang up and then be like, Veronica, what the heck? How come you didn't introduce me to her before?
Because we just finished our program at USC. That's why. But she is now. I will tell you this. You were the first one, and she did tell me before I even graduated. She goes, you know what? There's a friend of mine I want you to meet. You two are going to hit it off beautifully. So I do want you to know that I was so excited about today. But you know what? That's made the conversation even that much greater.
Yeah.
Because it literally was a first time.
Yeah.
But for many more in the future.
Ah, amen, sister. Amen. Thank you so much. I'm going to be putting all of your information in our show notes so that people can get a hold of you. And just know that you got a friend over here in LA. Make sure you contact us, and we're going to go out and have fun and do all the things,
Yes. I am ready. And we just signed someone new from LA, Sienna Leone, and I'm super excited about her. So I'm excited. So yes, I plan to be out there like in the next month. So I'll keep you posted. So we'll be ready to go and have a good time.
Perfect, amiga. Well, thank you so much for being on Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast.
Thank you. Bye.
Ciao. Bye-bye.
Ciao.